Here, on the edge of the Great Plains, life follows an ancient rhythm. The wind whispers through the tall grasses, a constant companion. For 9 years, this land has been my sanctuary. My husband, David, and I built a life here, brick by brick, laugh by laugh. We are a small island of warmth in a vast and sometimes indifferent landscape. Our children, Maya and Leo, are the wild, beautiful flowers that have sprung from this soil. Their laughter is the sweet bird song that greets the dawn. This life, carved out by our own hands, is a testament to a love that the world and my family once tried to deny. It is a quiet, powerful existence. Our love story was not a gentle stream. It was a powerful river, carving its own path through unforgiving rock. When I chose David, a man whose skin held the richness of the earth, my family saw only a chasm. They saw a divide they could not cross. Their love, which I had thought was an endless ocean, proved to have a shore, and I was cast adrift. The silence that followed was a profound, echoing emptiness. It was the silence of a deep winter, where the world holds its breath, waiting for a spring that may never come. My family became a distant mountain range, beautiful in memory, but cold and unreachable. In this quiet kingdom, we have found our own kind of peace. The loneliness I once felt has been transformed. It has become a spaciousness, a profound connection to the world around me. It is the feeling of watching a herd of deer at dusk, their movements a silent ballet. They move as one, a family unit bound by instinct and unspoken understanding. I often wondered if my own family, my original herd, ever felt my absence. Did a space open up where I once stood? A void felt only in the quiet moments before sleep. Or was it sealed over, as if I had never been there at all? The passing seasons have marked the time. 9 winters have laid their heavy blankets of snow upon this land, and 9 springs have brought the miracle of rebirth. With each turning of the earth, the sharp edges of my heartbreak have softened. My courage, once a desperate, flickering flame, has grown into a steady, warming fire. David and our children are the heart of this fire. Our home is a den, a safe harbor from the storms. Here, we are not defined by the judgments of others. We are simply a family, as natural and as real as the earth beneath our feet. Today is June 11th, 2026. The morning air was still, holding the promise of a warm summer day. But a change was coming. A disturbance on the horizon, unseen at first, but felt. It was like the subtle shift in air pressure that precedes a great storm. The birds in the garden fell silent, their usual chorus replaced by an expectant hush. A single car appeared on the long, dusty road that leads to our home, a rare sight. It moved slowly, deliberately, a dark predator inching across the landscape. Its approach felt unnatural, an intrusion into the balanced ecosystem we had so carefully cultivated over the years. As the car drew closer, a shape became clear in the driver's seat, a silhouette both strange and painfully familiar. My heart began to beat a frantic, heavy rhythm, like the wings of a trapped bird. It was my mother. After 9 years of absolute silence, she was here. The years had changed her, etched new lines onto her face, but the set of her jaw was the same. It was the jaw of a mountain, unmoving and formidable. She stepped out of the car, her movements stiff, her city shoes looking alien on the wild, untamed earth of my driveway. The silence between us was immense. She did not come with open arms. There was no warmth, no sign of a long-awaited reunion. Her eyes, which I remembered as warm pools, were now like chips of ice. They scanned our home, our garden, the life I had built, with a critical, detached gaze. It was the look of a surveyor, assessing the value of a piece of land, not a mother seeing her daughter for the first time in nearly a decade. Her presence was a physical weight, pressing down on the light, airy atmosphere of our home. The air grew thick, heavy with unspoken history and unresolved pain. My children, Maya and Leo, watched from the window, their eyes wide with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. They are creatures of this wild place, sensitive to any shift in the emotional climate. They could sense the tension, the arrival of a force that did not belong. My mother's arrival was not a gentle rain meant to nourish the soil. It was a sudden, unseasonal frost, threatening the delicate blossoms that had taken so long to grow. The 9 years of peace felt fragile now, a thin sheet of glass about to be shattered by the stone of her arrival. She sat in my kitchen, a queen upon a borrowed throne. The silence was not empty. It was filled with her demands. They were not spoken as requests, but as declarations. My father, she explained, was unwell. A great old tree beginning to fall. And his final wish, his final command, was for me to return. Not as a daughter who was missed, but as a subject being summoned. I was to leave this life, this love, this family I had created. I was to erase the last 9 years and return to the fold, as if my journey had been nothing more than a brief, regrettable detour. Her words carried the immense weight of an ancient glacier. They moved slowly, but with unstoppable force, threatening to crush everything in their path. She spoke of duty, of family honor, of the natural order of things. In her world, I had disrupted that order. I had broken a sacred law. Her love, it seemed, was conditional. It was a narrow path, and I had dared to wander into the wilderness. Now she was here to guide me back, to pull me from the vibrant, chaotic beauty of the wild, and place me back into the cold, predictable landscape of her expectations. David stood beside me, his hand a warm, steady presence on my back. He was the sturdy oak that had weathered many storms. He listened to her demands without a word, his silence more powerful than any argument. He was the living, breathing proof of the life she wanted me to abandon. My mother refused to look at him, her gaze fixed on me. To her, he was invisible, an inconvenient feature of the landscape she wished to clear away. Her disregard for him, for the man who was my husband and the father of her grandchildren, was a fresh wound, a sharp, cold shard of ice to the heart. The demand was not just for my return, it was for my erasure. I was to leave my children, her own grandchildren, behind. They were not part of the deal. They were the undeniable evidence of my transgression, their beautiful, mixed heritage a testament to the love she could not accept. She spoke of them as if they were a temporary problem, a complication that could be managed. The weight of her words was suffocating, the cold of that ancient ice seeping into my bones. She was asking me to choose between two parts of myself, to tear my own heart in two. The days that followed were a slow, tense standoff. My mother remained, a silent, judging presence in our home. She was like a hawk circling high above, waiting for a sign of weakness. Her presence created fractures in the smooth surface of our daily lives. The easy laughter, the spontaneous songs, the comfortable chaos of our family. It all grew quiet, subdued. We moved around her carefully, as if she were a piece of unexploded ordnance from a forgotten war. The house, once our fortress of warmth and love, now felt like a contested territory, a battleground for the soul of our family. I watched her interact with my children, or rather, I watched her fail to interact with them. Maya, my bold, curious daughter, tried to bridge the gap. She brought my mother a drawing, a vibrant explosion of color depicting our family, including a grandmother she had never known. My mother glanced at it, her expression unreadable, and set it aside without a word. It was a small act, but it felt like a tremor, a sign of the deep, unmoving ice within her. She could not see the beauty, only the difference. She could not see a grandchild, only a reminder of the choice I had made. David, my patient, gentle David, tried to reason with her. He approached her not as an adversary, but as a fellow parent. He spoke of love, of forgiveness, of the unshakable bond of family. He spoke of the children, her legacy, her blood. He laid our life bare for her to see, a life filled with joy and purpose. My mother listened with a polite, impenetrable stillness. His words were like rain falling on a frozen lake, unable to penetrate the surface. She saw his goodness, his strength, his love for me, not as virtues, but as obstacles to her goal. The pressure continued to build. The glacier of her will showed no signs of retreat. But something else was happening. Something unexpected. Cracks were beginning to form, not just in the fragile peace of our home, but within the glacier itself. I saw them in the fleeting moments of vulnerability, a flicker of something in her eyes as she watched Leo sleep, his face a perfect blend of mine and David's, a slight tremor in her hand as she reached for a cup of tea. These were tiny fissures, almost imperceptible, but they were there. The immense frozen mass was not as solid as it appeared. The breaking point came not with a roar, but with a quiet question. It was evening, and a soft rain had begun to fall, washing the dust from the air. My mother and I were alone in the living room. The children were asleep, and David was out, checking on a neighbor's fence. She turned to me, and for the first time, the icy mask seemed to fall away. "Are you happy, Eleanor?" she asked. Her voice was small, almost a whisper, the sound of dry leaves skittering across pavement. It was the first time she had used my name since she arrived. The first time she had asked about me, not just demanded of me. The question hung in the air between us, simple and devastating. It was the key that unlocked the frozen river of my own grief. For 9 years, I had been strong. I had been a builder, a warrior, a survivor. I had not allowed myself the luxury of sorrow. Now, it came rushing forth. I told her everything. I told her of the profound loneliness of the early years, the ache of missing her, of missing my father, of missing the family I had lost. I told her of the fear and the uncertainty, but also of the fierce, defiant joy that had taken root in its place. I spoke of David, not as a symbol or a statement, but as the man I loved. I described his kindness, his humor, his unwavering support. I described how he had held me together when I thought I would fall apart. I spoke of our children, of the wonder of seeing the world anew through their eyes. I painted a picture for her, not of a perfect life, but of a real one. A life that was messy and challenging, but also beautiful and true. A life that was mine. As I spoke, the tears that I had held back for so long began to fall. A warm, cleansing rain. And then, a miracle. My mother began to weep. It was not a storm of tears, but a quiet, steady flow, like a spring that has finally broken through the frozen ground. She did not speak. She did not offer apologies or explanations. She simply wept with me. In that shared moment of sorrow, the glacier finally broke apart. The immense weight of years of anger, pride, and misunderstanding began to melt away. We were not a queen and a subject. We were not a judge and a defendant. We were just a mother and a daughter. Two women who had lost each other and were perhaps beginning to find their way back. My mother stayed for another week. The change was not sudden or complete. It was a slow, tentative thaw. There were no grand pronouncements of forgiveness, no dramatic embraces. Instead, there were small, quiet moments of connection. She allowed Leo to show her his collection of interesting rocks, and she listened, really listened, as he explained the importance of each one. She accepted the drawing from Maya, and this time she put it on the table by her bed. These were small gestures, like the first green shoots of spring pushing through the cold earth, but they were everything. She never formally withdrew her demand. She never said, "You were right." But her actions spoke a new language. She began to see David, not as a concept, but as a person. She watched him with our children, saw the gentleness in his hands, heard the love in his voice. One afternoon, I found them in the kitchen together, talking quietly over a cup of coffee. I did not hear what they said. I did not need to. The simple fact that they were sharing the same space, the same air, without the suffocating weight of conflict, was a monumental shift. The landscape of our family was changing. When she left, it was different. She held my hand, and her grip was firm, her skin warm. "Your father would want to see his grandchildren," she said. It was not a command. It was an invitation. It was a crack of light on a new horizon. It was not a promise of an easy road ahead. The mountains of prejudice and old wounds still stood in the distance. But now, a path had appeared, a way through. Forgiveness is not a destination, but a journey. It is a slow, patient process, like the erosion of a great canyon by a persistent river. The car disappeared down the long, dusty road, but this time, it did not feel like an intrusion. It felt like a departure, a promise of a future return. The silence that descended was not empty, but peaceful. The birds resumed their song. My family, my true and chosen family, is here with me. The land is calm. We have weathered the storm, and our roots are deeper now, more firmly anchored in this rich, life-giving soil. The wind still blows across these plains, but it no longer sounds of loneliness. It whispers of hope, of resilience, and of the enduring, untamed power